Hello, everyone. All right, let's get this go-to training started. Nobody here today, but that's okay. I'm Chris Goizueta. I am helping Alex Knight out this month. I usually teach the course online, so sorry for a little bit for a delay on the go-to sessions, but we are here now. You guys did great on week one. I already graded the assignments today. It's a good job, everyone. And I thought I'd give you guys a quick little lecture that will help you for the assignment this week, the touring strategy. You're going to have to do a 3-year tour strategy, which is the assignment I grade the toughest, and I expect the most from. I expect a lot from all the assignments, but it's an assignment very dear to my heart because of my background and my history. So I guess what we'll do, I'll share some slides, and I'll kind of just talk about them a little bit. If any, I guess nobody's here, so people can't hear me. I was going to say, if anybody comes in, feel free to ask questions. But if you're watching this after the fact, I'm going to just feel free to send me questions, email me. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. My personal email is the best way. I'm leaving it on the bottom of all the feedback for your grades on FSO. And I sent everyone a message too, so you guys should be able to get a hold of me on my personal email. That's my Gmail. That's chris.goizueta, Goyzueta @gmail.com. All right, well, let's get this party started. All right, so let me move this go-to thing out of the way. All right, so first I'm going to start with a couple of definitions. So the first definition is promoter. So what does a promoter do? So a promoter, talent buyer, and booker get interchanged a lot because a lot of times they're the same thing. But to avoid confusion, I'm going to separate them here. And this is stuff that might show up on the test. So just a heads up. A promoter, so when someone books a show, right, and promotes and organizes a show, books an artist, let's pick an artist, let's say Foo Fighters. So Foo Fighters were the artist. The promoter is the one that's on the hook. They're the ones that putting the show on. So the promoter, whatever guarantee they give the band, they're at risk of the guarantee. They're going to have to pay the band the guarantee no matter what. They have to usually arrange getting the venue if they don't own the venue. So like Live Nation is a promoter and has talent buyers that work for them. So they obviously own venues, but there are instances where they might rent a venue too when they're doing shows at an arena or a stadium or a festival site that they don't own. So, okay, so promoter. Promoter is the one that is taking the risk on the show and is the one that's putting the show on and is responsible for marketing the show. They don't always own the venue. So they can a lot of times be an outside entity. Talent buyer. A talent buyer is the person that negotiates with the booking agent that represents the artist, and they negotiate a rate, or so a deal. They negotiate ticket prices. They negotiate what time doors open, what time the show starts, where the venue is going to be, if there's any opening acts, and all that stuff. Anything that has to do with the show, they negotiate with the booking agent. So here's where the confusion comes. A lot of times, the talent buyer is the promoter, or the talent buyer works for the promoter. But there can be complete separation too. So I used to work for Live Nation, and I was a talent buyer at Live Nation. So I was the talent buyer negotiating with the agent, but Live Nation, the company, was the promoter for the show. So that's where it's the same. If you own a venue, let's say you own a club downtown and you're booking the talent, right? You're the talent buyer and the promoter. If you're an outside promoter renting a venue, then you don't own the venue, but you're a promoter, and if you're the one negotiating with the talent, you're the talent buyer. Or with the agent, you're the talent buyer. Now, if it's a festival, so that's a lot of times radio stations will put on like radio festivals, and they don't have contacts to booking agencies or don't know what rates are because they aren't regularly putting on shows. So a radio station will hire a talent buyer to do the buying for them, or corporate events or weddings might hire a talent buyer to do the buying for them. So in that case, there's a complete separation. So give me 1 second, gotta take a quick sip of water. Sorry about that. So in a radio festival, the radio station is the promoter, and let's say they hire Live Nation, they're outsourcing the talent buying to them, then Live Nation is the talent buyer. Booker is just another word for talent buyer. That's just a word that we use at Live Nation to refer to all the talent buyers. So here's the next part, booking agent. If you're working for a venue, you are not the booking agent. If you're promoting shows, you're not the booking agent. The booking agent is the person that represents the artist. They're the ones that find them work, They're the ones that book them shows, festivals, and any other kind of opportunities. Full service agencies. I'm going to list 5 for you. So the 2 big ones are CAA, Creative Artist Agency. Then you have WME, William Morris Endeavor. Then you have APA, Agency for the Performing Arts. Then there's UTA, United Talent Agency. And you have ICM, International Creative Management. Those are the 5 big full-service agencies. So the difference between a full-service agency and a regular music booking agency is they have other departments. So they'll have a film department, they'll have a literary department, they have a sponsorship department, a public speaking department, a comedy department. So basically, if you're a musician, they can get all kinds of different opportunities for you. So let's say you had a 10, 15 year long successful career, right? And you wanted to start getting into acting. So let's say Justin Timberlake, for example. So he just didn't know about music in the beginning and he started doing movies. So his agency would also represent him to get him movie roles. Let's say he was going to get sponsorships. His agency would help him to get sponsorships. Let's say he wanted to write a book and write a book about his life, an autobiography. His agency would help him get a book deal. Okay, so that's a full service agency. And a middle agent is someone that is not necessarily a talent buyer. They kind of have the role of a talent buyer and a booking agent, but there's some kind of middle entity that is also an agent, but they also are negotiating with the big agencies. So there's 2 examples. One, let's say you're a starting indie promoter, you want to start booking some shows, but you have no relationships. These middle agents have relationships with the agencies, so you can go to one of them, or sometimes they find you, and will sell you a show, but they'll sell it at a commission. So let's say there's an artist that costs $10,000, they might sell it to you for $12,500 or even $15,000 sometimes. So they'll really upsell the show to you, just so you can start building history as a promoter, right, and start building a record as being a promoter. Also, let's say, so in terms, there's a college agent. So I have a podcast called Making It with Chris G. Really good resource if you guys want to check that out. I have interviews with booking agents, managers, record labels. I've done an interview with Kevin Lyman, a lot of cool people. But the college agent, Ari Nisman, he works for an agency called Deggy Entertainment. And he has a lot of corporate clients, or also books all the colleges. He also books for the military. So let's say they wanted to book Foo Fighters. I'll just keep using them as an example. So the agent, they may not have contacts for the agencies, but Deggy, or Ari from Deggy, will have contacts to agencies. So he'll buy the talent or negotiate the talent and sell it to the military or corporate entities or the colleges. Or let's say Foo Fighters agents really wants to play the homecoming at LSU, then they will contact Deggy and say, hey, you have a relationship at LSU, right? Can you help us get the homecoming show? So that's kind of how middle agent works. Then there's college agents. So basically they just represent artists in 2 circuits. There's the NACA circuit, NACA, and the APCA circuit, APCA. So these are the 2 big national college conferences where artists showcase to get college opportunities, and they usually have a college agent that represents them there. So here's just a list of top 25 promoters and clubs. If you're interested in learning more about them, just go to pollstar.com, Pollstar. It's on the top, and you find a whole list of the top promoters and top venues and all that. So, all right. So usually here we'll have the band rehearsal. That'll be you guys. You're the band, right? So this is what I want you guys to do. Think of the town where you live and just create a giant list of local promoters. You should know who promotes shows locally in your hometown. I mean, really in all the towns around you, right? If you're working with artists and you're trying to help them get shows, you should be aware of who the local promoters are. Then the same thing with booking agencies. You should be aware of the booking agencies, right? So we talked about CAA, William Morris, APA, UTA, ICM. So here's a few more. There's also Paradigm, which is a giant agency, and here's just a little list of for CAA and William Morris who they represent, and they have thousands of artists that they represent. Paradigm and Windish is now the same agency. So Paradigm bought Windish. Madison House is another big booking agency. High Road Touring. You should also be familiar with New Frontier Touring. Who else am I missing? There's quite a few, but those are some of the big ones. Monterey International is another big one. So check those out. Just Google any of those agencies, and you'll see their roster and who they work with and all that good stuff. All right. So what are promoters looking for? So I have the 50% rule, right? The 50% rule is if you want to play a venue, you have to be able to fill at least 50% of that venue's capacity. So, and that's collectively with all the artists together. So if you want to do a show, something in Orlando, there's a really popular venue called The Social that holds 400 people. If you want to do a show at The Social, the show you bring them should be able to fill at least 200 people because that's half of the capacity, right? So you have 4 artists, that's 50 artists or 50 people each artist. So that's kind of the goal you want to aim for, to have a good relationship with the venue. That's kind of keeps the door open for you. I've had several opportunities where artists did not deliver and did not hit 50%, sometimes not even 10%. And guess what? Getting booked for another show is really, really hard. So make sure that you hit at least the 50% rule when you put together a show. Other things promoters are looking for. They're looking for ticket sales, obviously. So that's the 50% rule. But they're also looking for bar sales. So for example, if you have a show, right, that's an all ages show. Let's say, let's use a social again, for example. So you have 400 people. Let's say it sells out. It's a $20 ticket. So that gives you a gross of $8,000, right? But an all ages show, let's say it's like an EDM show or some pop punk band or some Disney artist. They're usually drinking $1 per head at the bar. So 400 times a dollar is 400 bucks, right? So that gives you, and then that gives you 8,400 as the gross, but usually let's call it at least 75% of the ticket money is going to go towards paying expenses, paying the bands, and all that kind of stuff. So really, at the end of the day, you only have $2,400 left. All right. So let's say you have a reggae show. Reggae fans drink a lot, and you only sell 200 tickets. Same venue, same ticket price, 20 bucks, right? It's $4,000. It's only half the gross, so 75% goes to paying expenses and all that jazz. So you have $1,000 there. But now, this crowd drinks about $18 a head. How do I know these numbers? After you have done a lot of shows, you start getting used to knowing what those numbers are. But that will be 3,600, right? So that gives you 4,600 total. So 3,600 from bar sales plus 1,000 that you have left over from the ticket sales. So it's actually a lot more lucrative for a venue to book a reggae show than an all ages show that will do 50% of the business. So it's not just all ticket sales. Bar sales matter too. Does your audience drink? You have to have something going on. So if you've gotten a lot of cool press lately, you just got management, you got a booking agent, all that jazz, something's going on right in your career, that is something else that promoters are looking for. And then your team, same thing. You just add someone significant to your team that the venue or the promoter might be trying to impress. Have a good attitude and just really willing to put into work. So if you book a show at a venue and your artist is a complete jerk, the chances of them being booked again is probably going to be very low. And then if you have an artist that's like just starting out and they're very green, if they're willing to work hard and put into work, trust me, the venue will give them another chance. So, all right. So before we start here, let me exit real quick, see if anybody else joined, or if I'm still talking to myself. Still talking to myself, that's okay. All right, I'm gonna read you guys a couple of quick pitches. These are real emails that I've received as a promoter. I've promoted over 2,000 shows. I'm probably at the 2,500 to 2,700 mark of shows I've promoted. I've gotten a lot of emails. A lot of these emails I'm about to show you were usually emails I used to delete. Now these are emails I screenshot and send to you guys as examples. Okay, so first one. Hi, I was wondering what kind of live music you have at your venue, originals, covers, and genres. So think about what's wrong with that. Most venues and promoters and town buyers, if they're good at what they do, they get at least 100 to 200 emails a day, if not hundreds of emails per day, right? If you're a House of Blues, you're probably getting 400 or 500 emails a day. So it's really hard to dig through all that. And emails like this just get automatically deleted. If you don't have the time to look at what I'm doing at my venue, I don't have the time to answer that question for you. Sorry, not trying to be rude, just trying to be productive and work quickly. Second one is, hey Chris, hope all is well. We have Flow Tribe routing through Florida around New Year's and wanted to check your availability for Friday, December 30th at 1904. That's a venue in Jacksonville. It's 1904 Music Hall. The band will be releasing a new single and video in the next few weeks. So I've gotten emails like this, both if the person knew me and if the person didn't know me. So the person that emailed me this is a really good friend of mine. He's a really good booking agent. He represented this band. So, of course, I responded. Now, if it wasn't someone I knew, right, this is a very kind of informal email, So what's important that I'm always going to ask, my go-to response as a talent buyer or promoter is, what's their history in the market? Have they played Jacksonville before? If so, where? How did those shows do? Who did they play with? Was it a ticketed show or was it a festival show? So these are all kinds of questions a promoter at Talent Buyer is going to ask. Here's another one. My name is Caitlin Crisco. I represent the broadcast of powerhouse female-fronted blues rock band from Asheville, North Carolina. The band is currently on tour throughout Europe, being featured in 9 countries over the next 2 months. I am currently looking at stateside bookings for early 2017, and specifically Florida, the first 2 weeks of January. Do you have the following? Do you have any of the following available? So send me a bunch of dates and then a photo, some press quotes, and a bunch of links. So this is a good email. So they do have a short elevator pitch. So we talked week 1 about elevator pitches. So this person wrote a powerful female-fronted blues rock band from Asheville, North Carolina. So a really quick, it's more like a tagline than an elevator pitch. This works. This will probably get a response from me, depending how busy I am, but it could also get automatically deleted. So let's look at why and what might get deleted. I like that they're specific. They have dates, right? But there's no history again. So then the whole history question, right? I've never heard of the band. I would maybe check out some of the links, but there's a lot going on down there. Like you can. Sometimes it helps to just send a little bit less information. And then it looks like they work with Jeff Whitworth, who's the owner and talent buyer at the Gray Eagle in Nashville. So that's a good thing, right? If you want to impress a venue, so that's something that you wouldn't want to pay attention to as a promoter, though. And they're from Asheville, so sometimes a promoter might have a big liking to a particular city. So like for me, that's like Asheville or New Orleans, right? Whenever there's a band from one of those 2 cities, I usually always respond because I'm always looking to build my network in those cities. So this is a pretty good email. All right, here. Hi, I was wondering if you might have an extra slot available on the bill for November 10th at Back Booth with the Interrupters. My band is called Blank, and we are from Orlando. Thanks. Not a lot of information. No idea who this band is. No context, right? So that's an automatic delete. Next one. Hi, Chris. I saw that Mitski was coming to Back Booth on November 11th, and I wanted to submit my group Blank for the bill. We are based in Orlando and have a significant draw. Our debut EP was just released in May and had premieres on Nerdist, All Things Go, Wild Honey Pie, etc. We have performed recently at notable venues such as House Blues, The Social, The Beecham, and notable acts including Growlers, Swim, Black Light Social Hour, Reptar, and many more. We will love to be part of this date, and we will work our butts off to make it as great as possible. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And then they have a bunch of links on the bottom. So this is a good email. I would respond to this. There's history, right? So I don't necessarily have numbers, or they don't have necessarily aren't including what they have currently going on. But I do like that it's specific. They have a specific show they want to open for. And if House of Blues, Social Beecham worked with them, they're probably not some band that's not worth anything. And they open up for some notable acts in their genre. So all that stuff matters. So that's a band I will definitely respond to. A couple more. Hey, me and my team noticed y'all have a hip hop event coming up later this month, and I was wondering if we can get booked for the show to open up. We've opened up for Riff Raff, MGK, Ace Hood, and many more. Check this out here. So very informal. Asking for a hip hop event we have coming up, right? So when I was in House of Blues in New Orleans, half of our shows were hip hop events. So not very specific. I don't know which hip hop event you're trying to open up for. So you need to be specific to which one. And just need to know a little bit more about the artist. There's just nothing there. So if I'm busy, this is an automatic delete also. This next one, excuse me, but I wanted to say I'm an urban hip hop rapper. My song is being played on Hot 94.7 and Power 107.9, and I had A&Rs and KE on the track. Hear my songs. They liked it. I was wondering how I can perform at your club. I had a performance at the Rave in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Please get back with me. Thank you. If you would like a link to my MP3 file, I can attach it. Bad email. Very bad. This is for a show in Orlando. All the information is for Milwaukee. If you do well in Milwaukee, Orlando's a long way away, right? It doesn't mean you're going to do well in Orlando. What else? Not very specific. Very informal, bad grammar. This is an automatic delete. If I'm busy, just don't have time for those kinds of emails. This one says, hey, bud, hope you are well. Wanted to see if you might have a venue in Jacksonville on September 17th for the Ragbirds. They are being managed by the same management as the Black Lilies, just so you know. Check out the info below. So, specific date, that's good. If I didn't know this person, this would be super informal, right? And of course, I know who this is, so that's why this person's informal. But the reason I'm showing it as an example is because I've gotten emails that say, "Hey, bud. Hey, man. Hey, bro." None of that's okay if you don't know the person. So always err on the side of professionalism. There's definitely agents out there or town buyers out there. If you're informal with them, they will either ignore you or might be very rude to you. So just be careful with being informal. This one, hey Chris, I've got Brian Collins coming to town on a run. I wanted to see if you had March 8, March 9, or March 10 available for him to perform as a solo or duo. Please let me know. Again, no information, no links to the artist. I don't know this person. No history of if have they played the market before, where are they from. There's just nothing there to work with. So that's an automatic delete. Okay, I think this is the last one. This one is, hi Hannah, hope all is well. I'm looking to book an artist I manage called Xander for his summer tour through Colorado. He has family, friends, fans in the area, and with his recent social media success, it only makes sense to start developing that area next. He's already established a solid following in Southeast and California. We're looking to book him at your venue between June 23rd and June 26th. Got all his links and as well as a marketing strategy below. As a fellow promoter, so there's misspelling there, as a fellow promoters, it's only right to show you that we have a solid plan. We'd love to work with you. Do you have any of the following dates available? And then there's links, right? So this is an email I wrote. So I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. I misspelled promoters, right? So it should have been singular, not plural. I did get a response from this email. Did get a show booked. The Hannah actually loved the email, and she thought it was one of the best emails she's ever gotten because of the honesty. So there's definitely things that can be better in this email. You could add an elevator pitch in the email to give the town buyer a little bit more of a visual or a visual what this artist would sound like. Where I have the links, so xanderwaves.com, facebook.com/xanderwaves. Those could be all hyperlinks, so it makes everything shorter. So the shorter is always better. The marketing plan, that's one of the things she loved, that I had a marketing plan. So again, if you're an artist starting out, you have to show the promoters and the town buyers that you're willing to work. So sometimes this could be a risk because there's a lot of information in this marketing plan. So it's a risk. Do I want to send an email that looks long? So that's why I kind of bolded the marketing strategy below in purple, so it looks like it's a completely different thing. So they only have to read the top part. So if you are going to include a marketing plan, again, just keep it short. I probably could have kept it a little shorter. It's just a risk you take, but this is an email that has worked for me in the past a lot. I'm actually have fine-tuned it now, though. It's a little better process these days. All right, so what goes into a great pitch to book your artist? So for this week's assignment, for all the shows, for all your year one markets that you select, so every city you pick for year one, you have to give me you write me a pitch email. And this email has to be completely different. So you can copy elements for each city. So whatever 5 cities you pick for your first year, you can copy elements for each email. Of course, it's going to be the same. It's going to be redundant. But I do want your sales pitch, your call to action, why this market, right? So be very specific. They've played Orlando before, and they played at House of Blues on this state. They have played several times in Orlando. They are from Orlando. Like, sell me, because I got to believe that people are coming to the show. If you're just not a town band that's never been to Orlando and really have no reason or plan to come to Orlando, then I'm not going to book you. So you got to sell me, all right? So you can copy and paste most of your emails on the 5 different pitches, but I want to see at least 1 to 3 sentences where you're selling me. And the stronger you sell me, the better your grade is going to be, all right? So quick 8 tips on writing a good pitch. Have an introduction. Who are you and why are you writing me? Who are you working with and what is your role with that person? Include your elevator pitch. Be very specific about your dates and range. Why this market and why this venue, and include a couple of highlights of recent accolades and successes, and then just a formal closing, and then include all the links. And remember, hyperlinking is better than putting the complete URL in there. Try to keep it short to 8 sentences or less. If you have more than 8 sentences, your chances of getting deleted are very high, regardless of how amazing your pitch is. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions on that. Shoot me an email. So let's go on to a couple more slides. So let's get out of this one. See if anyone else joined. Nope, still talking to myself. All right, cool. All good. All right. So now we're putting together a tour strategy, right? So now you know what promoters are looking for and how to reach out to promoters. Now let's look at how to pick the markets you're going to play in. So here's some things to consider. Always play with purpose. Have a reason to play. There's a new release, a new single, a new album. You just got signed by a big label. You just put out a big music video. You're doing a co-headline tour with some cool other band, or you're doing something for a cause. Like, play with purpose. Make your shows events. Remember the 50% rule. When you pick your markets, where are you going to play? So if you're an artist that's based in Orlando because you're going to Full Sail, but you're from Atlanta, then it makes sense that Atlanta and Orlando are probably part of your tour strategy. Consider mileage. So if you're in Orlando and you want to play a show in New York, probably doesn't make sense, right? It's an 18 to 20-hour drive, and convincing your artist to do that 4 times a year is just going to be too much. So consider mileage, and especially the earlier in the career the artist is, the closer you want to keep it to home. You want to just start expanding slowly. There's no rush. The goal is probably to get a booking agent, and what booking agents are going to look for is that you have a following in 8 to 12 markets of 200 plus people, right? So that's one of the many things they're looking for. They're also looking for artists that are playing over 100 shows a year. They're looking for artists that are bringing in over $100,000 a year. They're looking for artists who have really awesome music that they might be personally passionate about. There's many different things agents look for, but the goal should be to get an agent. So you want to stack the cards in your favor. By touring the entire country, you're more likely to lose a lot of money and play in a lot of empty rooms versus getting an agent. So the goal is to advance your career, play with purpose. Consider the size of the city and proximity to other cities. So if it's a really small town, and there's not enough of your target audience there, right, it might not make sense to play. However, if it is a small town and there are enough people in your target audience there, it could be a really great choice because there's nothing to do in that town and people are going to want to go out. There's a band from Shreveport, Louisiana, called Hydrogen Child. And they used to use a similar strategy. They would play all the small towns around Dallas and all the small towns around New Orleans, and not play the big markets and not avoid the competition, right? Because the bigger the market, the more competition. So they play all the small towns and people come out because there's nothing to do. And then they would pull out of the small towns and only play Dallas and New Orleans. And now those shows are packed. So those smaller markets is something called feeder markets. They feed into a larger market. So just using Florida as an example, since I'm from here, if you wanted to build Miami, which is a really tough market to build because there's a lot going on, and depending on the genre, it could be really challenging. Not saying, it's not a friendly market for all genres, just like hip hop and EDM is obviously easier in Miami than everything else in that music, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. But what you would do is you maybe build Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Lake Worth, like just focus on building maybe all of those cities and then go into Miami maybe by year 3 or 4 once you develop those markets and you have enough fans in those markets to where they would want to drive to Miami, okay? If you have an artist that you're working with, you're developing, that already has a lot of history. I skipped goals for the band. Sorry. So goals for the band. So think of your genre, right? Think of the most ideal market for your genre. So if it's usually probably be like New York, Chicago, LA, Nashville, Atlanta, maybe New Orleans, maybe Denver if you're in a jam band, Portland if you're in a jam band. So when you start building your markets, what we're going to do, 5 markets per year. So in year 1, you're going to focus on building just 5 cities and developing just those 5. In year 2, we're going to expand to 10. So you're adding 5. So each year we're adding 5. So year 2 is 10, and year 3 is 15. So as you're expanding, you want to expand in the direction of a city that you're trying to get to, right? So if you're a jam band from New Orleans, you either wanted to expand into the Northeast, or you might want to expand and try to get towards Colorado, right? So figure out the right strategy for your artist and look at the band's history. So if you start working with a band, look at their history. If it's a band that's toured the entire country already, but all their turnouts are really low, then you want to identify the 5 cities in year 1 that you are most likely to develop into 100 to 200 people to attend. And the same thing with year 2 and 3, right? So you want to develop the markets with the biggest promise. Target audience, so we talked about that, right? Which cities have your target audience. And you maybe want to build around established events that can help your artists. So if you're, again, New Orleans, if you're a jam band, you probably want to play Jazz Fest in New Orleans. If you're Miami and it's Ultra and you're an EDM artist, maybe you want to play at a club or a bar and during Ultra weekend for an after party, right? So just think about big events that are going on in a city that could really help your artists as like an after party or an event to go along with that. All right. So types of venues to play. So for developing artists, of course, after this list, there's your big venues, your big clubs that are over 1,000 people. There's your giant theaters. There's amphitheaters, arenas, stadiums, festivals, and so on. But for developing artists, you're probably going to be spending your time in these types of venues. So the first one is house concerts. House concerts, exactly what it sounds like. You're literally playing at someone's house, and it's not just for singer-songwriters and folk artists anymore. There's hip-hop artists doing really cool house concerts. There's DJs doing really cool house concerts. And there's metal bands doing garage concerts, playing in people's garages, right? So, again, you want to do everything with purpose and a strategy. So why would it be good to play a house concert in a market you've never been to before? I promise you, unless you're playing with the right bands, 95% of the times, if you've never played a city before, you're playing in front of the bartenders, the audio engineers, and the door person. You're not going to have any people in the club. So, house concerts, if you play in someone's house, you have them invite all their friends and family, and instead of playing in front of 0 people, now you might be playing in front of 20 to 40 people. So, house concerts are a really great strategy to use. In two of my last podcast episodes are all about house concerts. There's a woman named Shannon Curtis. Amazing story. She played a house concert in San Diego, and was a fan that asked her to come play San Diego because she hasn't played there in a long time, and she didn't want to play a club. So she said, "Just come play my house. I'll invite all my friends." So she booked this house concert in San Diego. 30 of her friends showed up, and she made more money than she would have ever in a club. She made like $800 that night, and she's like, "Wow, that's awesome." So the following year, she would supplement house concerts with club dates in those markets, and she played 30 house concerts and made over $25,000. And she wrote a book about it. You'll see that in a second. But fast forward to 2012, fast forward to now, she's playing close to 80 shows a month, averaging, or 80 shows, house shows are per summer, so in less than 4 months, and it's averaging $800 per show. So that's almost $60,000 that she's making just playing house shows in just 4 months. So house shows can be a really great strategy. And it's a really cool podcast. She has a really great story, so I encourage you guys to check that out. You can also develop artists in playing coffee houses or listening rooms, right? These are smaller venues that are maybe 150 capacity or less, maybe 125 capacity or less. Small venues and usually coffee houses, but there's also small listening rooms around the country. Then you can play fraternities and sororities. If you're an artist whose target audience is college kids, especially fraternities and sororities, why not? If you're building a business, right? So think of it as a business. Instead of trying to go to the fraternity and getting a big payday, if you're trying to build a market, why not approach them and say, "Hey, do you guys have an open Friday or Saturday night? We want to bring a free party to you. We'll bring all the production. We'll buy a few kegs, and you just bring the people, and we'll play a free hour and a half show at your fraternity, and play some music for you and just entertain you guys for completely free. No obligations, no need to tip, no need to buy any merch. Of course, we'll bring our merch, and if people are encouraged to tip, that'd be great, but not required at all. We just want to break into a new market, and we want to play at your fraternity or sorority." So then the next level up, right, is there's bars that bands play a lot in, and you have your small venues that are less than 300 capacity. Show swaps. So a show swap is, if you've never played a city before, so let's say, again, Orlando, using that as an example, and you want to play in Tampa. So, you have a following in Orlando already. So you find a band in Tampa that has a following there, and you just trade shows. You offer the band in Tampa to open for you in Orlando, and in exchange, you open for them in Tampa, and that's how you can get in front of people too. Then there's small theaters and then mid-sized clubs, right? These are clubs that are 400 to 1,000 capacity. So those are some different types of venues. And then just here's a quick example of people that have played house concerts. So Steve Aoki, built himself up in playing house concerts, Shannon Curtis. So I learned about her through this DIY musician podcast, but I've got her as a guest on my own podcast now too. We dove a little deeper into her story. Foles played house concerts, and then there's also busking. Andy Grammer. So these are street performers, right? So Andy Grammer for 4 years built his audience just busking and playing on the streets. So it's another great way. I used to live in New Orleans for 3 years, and there's artists that have like their same spot that they play every single day, and they're playing in front of tourists from all over the world, and there's a whole system and process on busking. So there's a book I recommend for the course. If you go, I think it's to the welcome in FSO. There's a book called How to Make It in the New Music Business by Ari Herstand, and it's a really great book. And he talks about busking, he talks about house concerts, he talks about everything. Like you name it, it's all there. It's like the Donald Passman book is basically when you get that giant contract, that big record deal, that big management deal, whatever, right, what to look for in those deals. But how do you get those deals? And Ari Herstand really talks about how to really build an audience, how to tour, how to book shows. It's a really great book. A lot of the content for the class is based on this book. So I want to encourage you guys to check that out. All right, so here's a video. I'm not going to play it for here. I'll send you all the link. It's a video from Shannon Curtis. She did a TED Talk. Really cool. I'll just send you a link to the podcast, and then if you want, you can listen to the podcast, and there's also the video is on there as well. So definitely encourage you to check that out, all about playing house concerts. As we skip that, and then just here's her book. That'll be on the link I'll send you guys to. How often to play each market. 1 second, quick water break. We're on the home stretch. We're almost there. All right. So how often to play each market? In the early stages, if you have no following, you can play pretty frequently. You can play every 3 to 6 weeks in your hometown, right? You could also, starting out, so let's say you're really brand new and haven't really played yet, just play every open mic you can find, every single one. If it's a small town, you only have one, then just play that one. If you're in a bigger city and there's 4 or 5 open mics a week, play all of them. Because you want to get comfortable on stage, and this is before you even start promoting your shows. This is just to get comfortable on stage, practice songs, and all that. I have a new podcast coming out next week with an artist named Jeffrey James, who did a similar thing, playing writers' rounds in Nashville. And he literally played, I think he said 8 writers' rounds sometimes per week. He played as much as possible just to work on his songs, to work on his live show, and get comfortable on stage. And that's really important, because if you're going to play your first live show and it sucks, and you've promoted your butt off, and usually your first show is when everyone's excited and they're all going to come out. You're going to get all your friends and all your family out. And when your first show is bad, they're not going to come back. So not only of course, your friends and family will support you the first time, but you want them to be blown away. They want them to be so impressed that they're going to keep coming back for every time you play a show. So once you get to the developing stages, right? So now you're going all out. You're promoting as hard as you can. Now you only want to play every 8 to 12 weeks. For the purpose of this week's assignment, we're going to focus on playing every 12 weeks, once per quarter. So you're doing 4 shows per year in each market, okay? Then once your artist gets to advanced stages, so let's say you're selling 100 to 200 tickets per market, you want to pull back a little bit. So you might play twice a year. Once you're getting close to selling out venues, or you are selling out venues, then you only play once a year. There are exceptions in markets like New Orleans, Nashville, LA, New York, Chicago, where you can play residencies. So there's a lot of artists that will play residencies where they play the same venue every day for a week, or they'll play every Wednesday for a month, or they'll just play every Wednesday period, right? Unless they're on tour or traveling. So those are the exceptions, and sometimes those artists in those cities will still play their 1 to 2 big shows per year. So exceptions are the markets where you can get away at residencies and still be able to play your big show. And then just quick, hard ticket versus soft ticket. So a hard ticket show is someone's buying a ticket to come see you play, and usually you're headlining. A soft ticket is you're an opening act, you're playing at a festival, you're playing a wedding, you're playing a private event. People are going there for something else. Even if it's Coachella and you're Beyonce and you're headlining, that's still a soft ticket show for Beyonce, because people are going to go to Coachella no matter what, right? Ultra Music Festival in Miami sells out before the lineup's even announced. So those people are going there because they know it's going to be a great lineup and great experience every year. So all the artists on those big festivals are it's just a soft ticket play for them. All right. Here's the big one. So we're going to practice putting together a touring strategy. So our 3-year tour strategy. So let's see if anybody joined. Nope, talking to myself. All right, cool. It's totally fine. All right. So I'm going to pick an artist from New Orleans. So we're a startup band. We are the New Orleans Funkaholics. I don't know, just making up a name. And we're based, hometown is New Orleans, right? All right, so we got to pick our markets for year one. So our year one markets, so obviously New Orleans, the hometown, is where we're going to play, right? So New Orleans, Louisiana. So now what else? We need to add 5 markets for year one. So we go to New Orleans, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I actually am going to use a similar strategy to that band from Shreveport. So we're going to pick some smaller markets, and I know New Orleans pretty well. So if you look at my cursor here, here's New Orleans. Right down the road, here's a town called Houma, Louisiana. It's a smaller city, but still big enough of an audience to support a funk band. So let's say called the genre is funk jam band. All right, so pick Houma, Louisiana. So keeping it close to home, right? Again, I'm going to the map. Where else could I go? That's a short drive. Gulfport, Mississippi. That sounds great. Let's add Gulfport, Mississippi. So we'll add that to year 2. Right across the Lake Pontchartrain, there is Mandeville. So let's develop Mandeville. That's a big enough town, enough people, and nobody from New Orleans is going to go across the lake. And same thing, vice versa, for an artist just starting out. Mandeville, all right. And then, so I'm going to keep it really tight, really close to home for year 1. So then as far out as we'll go is Baton Rouge. That's about an hour from New Orleans. All right, so Baton Rouge. So these are all drives that we can do in the same day and come back the same day, right? So what we're going to do, so these are all going to be one-offs. So this is a one-off. So one-off means there's not a string of dates. You're not doing 2 or 3 shows back to back to back. You're doing one show, coming home, then you're doing the other show another time. So one-off. This is a one-off. This will be a one-off. So what we're going to do, we're developing, right? So we want to use the best strategy possible. So if you're in a hometown, you're going out, you're flyering, you're going out to events, and a lot of times bands, when they play out of town, they'll just show up and not do any kind of promo in town. All their promos online, and that's just a waste. That's not going to go very far to build your career. So you want to show up in those towns at least a day or 2 before and start acting like a local. Go to shows in that town, go to bars, meet people, go to events. If you play basketball, go play pickup basketball. If you're a skater, maybe you'll find a skate park to hang out in, right? So network, meet people, do exactly the same thing you would do in your hometown. So, right. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to try to book all weekend shows. So let's say week 1 is New Year's week. So let's take that week off. And all off means we are focusing on marketing, branding, social media. We're focusing on songwriting, right? We got to have great songs. So that's what we're focusing on. So then week 2, we're going to play New Orleans, right, as a one-off. Then same thing, week 3 is off. So whenever I put off, just remember that the first part. We're focusing on marketing, branding, social media, and songwriting. We're focusing on developing the artist. Then week 4 of January, we'll play Houma, Louisiana. Then February week 1, we'll take off. February week 2, we'll play Gulfport, Mississippi. Week off in week 3. Then we'll play Mandeville. We'll take off. So we're basically playing a show every other week, okay? And then we'll play Baton Rouge here. And then off. So that's quarter 1. So then we'll repeat that in second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter, right? So we have 5 markets we're building. It's 20 shows a year. That's a really good amount for an artist in their first year. All right. So year 2. So let me go up here. All right. So let me copy and paste these. Your 1 markets. Because now we're gonna have 10 markets we're focusing on. Okay. So I'm at these in here. It's at number 6. Let's see where we can expand to. So it's a funk band, right? So maybe the ultimate goal is, where do we want to get? So I can either try to get to the Northeast, because that's a very strong genre there, right? A lot of good markets to build. Or I can try to get to Colorado. So let's take a quick look. How far is everything? So let's see how far is Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado from New Orleans is 20 hours or 19 and a half. And then let's say New York would be... So it's about the same, right? So we got to make a call. Like, which area is going to be easiest to develop. So which markets do we have to get through to get to New York? So if you look around, here's some different markets. So we'll go through Carolinas, go to Georgia, go to Tennessee, and get to New York, right? Again, very strong hip hop, rock, and songwriter area here. The funk stuff will do pretty well down here. It'll do really well in the Northeast, but it's like we have to go way far beyond that. So let's take a quick look if you were to go to Denver. So again, doing this to see which direction to build the artist towards in year 2 and 3, and that's going to help me select my markets. So year 2 or 3. So here's the bad part. There's a lot of nothing around this area right here, right? But then once you get to Colorado, they could spend weeks up there. I mean, you have so many great markets to build in the Colorado area. So it's a toss-up. You got to figure out which direction to build. So nobody's here. It's all up to my vote which direction we're gonna build. So let's see. I'm gonna pick. We're gonna go towards Denver. Doesn't mean we're gonna get to Denver by year 3, but that's the direction we're going to build towards. So again, so we're in New Orleans, right? So let's get rid of that. So let's go just to New Orleans. All right. So we had just added Baton Rouge as one of our markets. So I'm starting to build west, right? So I'm gonna add Lafayette, which is a big college town. Lafayette. Then I'm going to add Lake Charles. It's a big city in Louisiana. So if you go west here, you'll see Lake Charles right here, right? If you go a little further west, there's Beaumont, which is a college town. So we'll develop Beaumont, Texas. Again, this will take you guys some research and practice. I've done this a lot, so I'm used to this. So I kind of know where all the towns are. So it'll take you guys a little bit of practice, but that's okay. So then we'll do Houston in year 2, and let's get to Austin, Texas. Austin is awesome. So let's just build Austin. All right. So here's the markets we're going to go to in year 2. So again, all these are one-offs. Let's make Lafayette a one-off, and just to see what's the distance from New Orleans to Lafayette. Could we get back the same day pretty easily? Yeah, it's just 2.5 hours out, right? So it's not far at all. Could technically string it together with Baton Rouge, but the goal is to really build a market. So I'm going to have my artists go out there a day before and really focus on building Lafayette. I'm going to treat Lake Charles as a one-off, even though I'll go through Lafayette. So what I'll do, every time I play Lake Charles, I'm going to stop at Lafayette for lunch and meet somebody, or stop in Lafayette for coffee and meet somebody, right? And then same thing on the way back. We'll stop in Baton Rouge. Beaumont, all right. So here's going to be a Weekend Warrior run. Weekend Warrior. All right, so we're gonna create a run. So Weekend Warrior means you're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday maybe. So you're playing 3 to 4 dates on a weekend, and a lot of times Thursday just gets lumped in on a Weekend Warrior run. So Weekend Warrior right here. All right. So this will be, let's call it maybe Thursday. Thursday we'll play Lake Charles. Friday we'll play Lake Charles, Beaumont. We'll call this a Texas run, right? So Houston, Texas on Friday. Saturday we'll play Austin, Texas. And then just Sunday we'll drive home. Probably about a 7-hour drive. So that's not too bad. All right, it's pretty realistic. So what we'll do, let's go down here. So we'll just do week 1 off. And then we'll do New Orleans on week 2. So again, those are one-offs, right? Usually playing just one show that week. Week 3 we'll off. Then week 4, let's get a little further out, so we'll space it out a little more. Off. Let's do Houma, Louisiana, so we're keeping it close to home base in the beginning. Off, and then let's throw our Texas run right here. That's how we'll do our strategy. And then we'll do off here, and we'll do Mandeville, Louisiana. Do I have Gulfport up there? Yes, okay. Mandeville, what are we missing? So we're missing Lafayette. Gulfport, Mississippi. So we're playing every week here, one show a week by year. By year 2, that should be fine. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. So New Orleans is there, Houma is here, Gulfport, Mandeville, Baton Rouge is there, Lafayette. I missed Lake Charles, so let's throw Lake Charles in right here. I'm gonna have weeks off between the Texas run. Let's recover a little bit and strategize. Cool. All right, so here's first quarter, and just repeat that same cycle, second, third, and fourth quarter, right? So we're playing 10 markets 4 times a year, 40 shows, all right? Home stretch. Home stretch. All righty. Again, I've done this a lot, so if I'm moving fast, either pause and take breaks, or rewatch stuff, or email me if you have questions. But email me tomorrow. If you email me Sunday, the chance of me responding are going to be very, very low. So, all right, just because it's family time on Sundays. But I know it's due dates for assignments. I try to be available. All right, so let's move into Texas to see what we can build here. So we want to start pushing north towards Denver, right? But there's some good markets we don't want to leave out. So if we're in Austin, obviously San Antonio's close. We'll put San Antonio, Texas here. Go back on the map. So the way to San Antonio, you probably want to get toward Dallas, right? So here's something I'm going to throw in. So let's at College Station. So because you're driving, so let's zoom out real quick. You're driving from New Orleans along I-10. You'll hit all these markets, right? And you probably get to San Antonio. We'll drive up to Austin. Let's add College Station. So now the way home is not so long. So we're gonna create 2 different runs. So you're about to see what we're gonna do. So College Station, Texas. All right. All right. Can't spell today. Station. All right. There we go. It took me long enough. All right. So these are 5 cities in a row, right? So this is kind of like a 1-week tour now. So 1-week tour, 1-week tour, 1-week tour, 1-week tour, 1-week tour. So right here we have our Texas run. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cities. So Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. So we'll start this tour on Wednesday. So Wednesday, let's pick Beaumont, Texas on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll play Houston, Texas. Friday, we'll play Austin or San Antonio, Texas, keeping along the I-10 line. Toledo, Texas. Saturday, we'll play Austin, Texas. And Sunday, we'll play College Station. Got to write this down. Texas. All right, those are Texas run, right? So here's what I want to do with Dallas. So because there's another big market in Louisiana. So as we're driving here along, if you go up, there's Shreveport, right? So you have Shreveport, and then here's Dallas. So I want to pick a smaller market along somewhere between Shreveport and Dallas, or maybe even near Shreveport, right? So gotta know your markets to really build this and do it the right way. So do your research. Let's see. I'm going to pick Tyler, Texas, because that's a pretty big town. So we'll do Shreveport, Tyler, and Dallas. Those are our 3 markets. So we're not going to get to Denver in year 3, but hopefully by year 4 we'll start, or year 5 we'll start getting there. So Tyler, Texas, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Dallas, Texas for year 3. And that will be a weekend warrior run because it's just 3 markets. It's a weekend warrior run. So we'll just call this the, not mean to do that. Sorry, it's cold. We'll just call that the North Louisiana, Texas run. And then we'll do Thursday, we'll play Shreveport. Friday, we'll play Tyler, Texas. And Saturday, we'll play Dallas, Texas. Something along those lines, right? All depends on what dates and stuff are available anyway. All right, so going back in here, let's take week 1 of the new year off. Then we start the year with a big hometown show in New Orleans. So let's see, make sure I get everything. I'm just going to put it in order. You maybe want to strategize a little bit more just for the sake of time, not have like a super long video for you guys to watch. So we have Gulfport. Let me add Gulfport here. Gulfport, Mississippi. Then we have Mandeville here. So we'll just see what this looks like. We'll take a week off. Mandeville, Louisiana. Week 4. Let's throw in our let's throw in another one off. So we'll throw in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's throw in our Texas run here. So this is one whole entire week tour. So we'll take a week off after that since we've just been on tour for a week. Let's see what we're missing. So we have Lafayette, Lake Charles still. So let's add Lafayette here. So I'm going to add that in week 2. Lafayette. All right. So big string of shows, right? Every week we're playing a show. So we're getting busier. Year after year, we're getting busier. So I'm missing Lake Charles. So we'll do Lake Charles, Louisiana here. And then here we do our North Louisiana, Texas run. Boom. 3-year tour strategy, right? So we're repeating this in quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 for the entire year. So we're playing 15 markets in year 3, playing those 4 times a year. So now you have 60 shows. So we're getting busier, right, as we're developing as artists. So then eventually there's going to come a point, if you're doing this right, where it gets exponential. So you're going to maybe jump. You're going to add 10, 15 markets in year 4. Then you really get to Denver. Or especially when you start making some money. Or things aren't going as planned and things are going slower. So maybe you are in year 2 still at 10 markets because you're still trying to develop your first 10 markets. So this is a strategy. We're planning the next 3 years, so we're not flying blind with our artist. So we have some kind of game plan, right? So just real quick review. So we have the New Orleans Funkaholics from New Orleans. They're a funk jam band. These are the 5 markets we picked for year 1. This is how we're spacing the strategy out for year 1, right? So per quarter. So repeating this 4 times a year. And then year 2 markets. Here we have a Weekend Warrior run to Texas. And then again, repeat that 4 times a year. Then we expand to 15 markets. And we have a new Weekend Warrior run and actually a whole week tour in year 3. So this is how we space that out. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. I end every lecture presentation with this slide right here. I'm going to encourage you guys, go see shows, meet people, and make stuff, right? So hopefully making good stuff, create content. I hope you guys learned a lot from this go-to session. The next go-to session will be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and pretty much on the Tuesday after that also at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you have any questions, send me an email. Have an awesome weekend. Good luck on your assignment. And just so you know, the Twitter chat was taken down for week 1. So that's going to get added back in week 3 or 4. So I'll send you all a note. You do not have to be part of the Twitter chat live, but you can check the hashtag MBTalk later and follow that. And we'll talk about that more in detail on Tuesday during our go-to session. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.